Craig, I was wondering what you thought of the terms talking about human capital, global business, we know people. How does that sit with you?
Oh, at the end of the day, it's just rhetoric, isn't it? And, you know, it is about people. It's about people's skills, and it's about making good decisions. I would suggest his decision, I think his decision to hire Graham Potter, on the face of it, is a very good one. But this was a guy and a consortium that made a decision to allow Thomas Tuchel to pretty much handpick his summer targets, pay the money because there was no Bruce Buck, Granit Xhaka or Petr Cech as intermediaries, and then sack him. So that's hardly collaboration and good business sense. So yeah, it's all sort of just rhetoric. At the end of the day, the proof will be in the pudding long term within the results, and whether they are dominant again and can be competitive across all the major competitions.
So has he really been playing that role then, Jules, as sporting director?
Yeah, it has. I would say, unfortunately, for Chelsea Football Club and for Thomas Tuchel, because I think now we're touching at the heart of the problem. The clip we've just heard, he said, well, we wanted Thomas Tuchel to collaborate with us. Why would Thomas Tuchel collaborate with someone who knows nothing about football? Why would Thomas Tuchel collaborate with someone who says to him, hey, why don't you play 4-4-3? Why would Thomas Tuchel collaborate with someone who says 5 times to him in the summer, through the summer, hey, what about Cristiano Ronaldo? And every time Thomas Tuchel said, listen, it would not work. This is not how we play. It doesn't really fit what we do. This would not work. And yet he would come back with Cristiano and Cristiano and Cristiano. Why would Thomas Tuchel collaborate with someone like this? I understand that it was in a situation where there was nobody else, because as Craig said, Marina left, Petr Cech left, Bruce Buck left, other people left. So in the end, it was Boehly and Boehly who had to do that kind of job. But they didn't know the players. They didn't know who Rafinha was. They'd never heard of him before trying to sign him, for example. If you're Thomas Tuchel, you get to a point where there's no dialogue with those people because they don't understand. It's not the same language, and it's not a criticism to Todd Boehly. He just doesn't know football. This is all new to him. But you can't blame Thomas Tuchel for not wanting to collaborate with you when it's impossible to collaborate with you because it's a sport that you know nothing about. And that's where I find the justification of his sacking a little bit too much, because tell us the real reasons then. Don't give me the youth team data. That makes no sense. Thomas Tuchel used to go to watch the under-19s and the reserve. If he wanted to know the data of this right back or that striker from the academy, he would find it. It's easy. So it just didn't give us the real reason why he sacked him. And the real reason, they didn't get on. They didn't see eye to eye. They didn't get on. But Thomas Tuchel grew frustrated by who he had to talk to in this summer in terms of recruitment and everything, because they knew nothing about football and they still don't.
Do you agree with what Jules is saying, Frank?
I do. And it's crazy because when I hear that type of people, talking about football when you know nothing, reminds me the thousands and thousands of people that I met around all over my life, talking to me about football, being at least fans, so thinking that they knew something about football, where being in a business of football, I know exactly how it works and the human aspect of the game and the all knowledge that you need to get in order to be successful. And suddenly you see somebody coming who has no knowledge whatsoever, giving advices to somebody who has been working, has been winning the Champions League. So I can understand that Tuchel was upset about the situation, and I'm with Jules. I think Mr. Boehly should just go to his position, therefore bringing money and trust people in place, and not trying to revolution the football, not trying to even revolution the Chelsea Football Club, because he's going to lose the battle, because he doesn't know the human aspect of the game. Therefore, if he thinks it's only data, numbers, and I don't know, fans, it's not going to work. Because at the end of the thing, the only thing which works is the pitch.
So, Craig, obviously,
I was going to say it's not the same, but it just reminds me of a story. It tickled me years ago. It was a true story of a manager in England in the second tier who, when he took the job and was offered the job by the chairman of this particular club, the chairman turned around to him when he signed his contract and said, "Oh, just to let you know, I've also got my coaching badges." And at that point, the unnamed manager should have walked out, because what the chairman was saying was, I know a bit about football as well. I've got my badges, so I'll be keeping my eye on you. And I think it is a difficult situation. But when you pay people to manage these big clubs, then you've got to let them do what they do, and then you do, which is running the business side of things. And at the moment, it's a slight, or a larger than slight, concern what's going on at Chelsea off the field.
Because there are going to be investors coming in. Football, especially in the Premier League, is an attractive prospect for many a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't know about football. What would have been the right course of action from Todd Boehly?
Find somebody who actually knows about players and make that person the conduit of communication between him and the manager. That actually released pressure from the manager, in this case Thomas Tuchel, and released pressure from the owner and Todd Boehly. And you put the pressure on the guy in that position or the person in that position to then relieve the information and actually digest and process the information, because you know you're going to get nonsense from an owner that thinks that knows about the game. But if you have somebody in that position, you can actually take that information, process it, digest it, and then package it differently to the manager in a way in which the manager can understand where they're coming from. So if you don't have that person in place, then of course it's never going to work. The only thing I would say, and I agree with everything that the guys have said, but the only thing that I would say, if you're Thomas Tuchel and you know that Todd Boehly doesn't know what he's talking about or has no understanding as to what is it that you want to do with the team, but he is indeed now, in effect, your boss. In every walk of life, there are moments in which you find a boss in which you do not get along with, and yet you have to make it work. So maybe there could have been a better effort from Thomas Tuchel in being perhaps more collaborative with Todd Boehly and just kind of humor him and then run his team on the field the way he would have wanted, and he would still be in the job. I think what happened here is that Thomas Tuchel said, no, I'm not going to explain to you why I'm doing the job, the way I'm doing it, and I don't want, because you're not worthy of these explanations. And if indeed that's your boss, and you're talking that way, you're not going to survive any job. So if you're Grant Potter, you better listen and be able to collaborate, because otherwise you're going to be out of the job as well.
There's no doubt going to be a lot more talk about this on the latest Gab and Jules podcast. Make sure to download that for Thursday's edition, wherever you do get your podcasts, and see what the guys think about a Premier League All-Star team.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.